Managing your short-term rental. Pricing. Being dog-friendly will bring you an extra $250 to $350 more money each week. It will also increase the number of bookings. Therefore, it is highly suggested. Now, you can cap a dog's weight at 50 pounds because many who have dogs that big will simply leave them at home. Now, when I say pet-friendly, we mean dogs only, not any other animal, and you need to be clear about that. Now, you can cap dogs at 2 and maybe a slightly higher rate for the second dog. BringFido.com is a website of dog-friendly short-term rentals and hotels that dog owners use to find places to stay. And I'll have to be honest, I'll take a dog over a child any day. I've had kids stain my sofa with green slime and get glitter everywhere. And we know how easy it is to get rid of slime and glitter, don't we? I've also had kids have food fights, popcorn and candy literally everywhere. I've really never had a dog mess up anywhere nearly that bad. Just ask your guests to clean up after their dog in the yard before they leave. People pay hundreds of dollars to board their dog, so never let a dog stay for free. And add some extra money that may pick up some of the damage caused on occasion. Cleaning fees should be an add-on fee and not embedded into your rate like some of the sites may push you to do. In your off-season, you could end up barely making anything if you book just a couple of nights and don't charge a cleaning fee. Keep it separate. Also, you should find a cleaning crew that is reliable, insured, and stable. And always have a backup plan just in case. Your cleaning crew should know what is expected of them at each and every cleaning, and they should report to you promptly with any pictures of any damage or messes that were left from the previous guest. You should provide access to your booking calendar, as well as possibly access to your security cameras, so that they can get access to your property as soon as a guest leaves and take care of all of the cleaning. The number one issue for bad reviews is cleaning. We'll discuss a way to rectify this with our 4 email contacts, but your cleaning crew should have plenty of time to do a great and thorough job. And while they're there, they should be replacing any bad bulbs and also air filters on a regular basis. Also, if they need to replace batteries and smoke detectors, they should also replace batteries in all of the remote controls, and I suggest doing that twice a year, because no one likes a dead battery in a remote. I prefer using the same cleaners each week, so that this way I know if anything is missing, and they can put everything back in the exact same spot where it should be. And that includes moving furniture in case a guest moves it. If you ever have a guest who is not out by your checkout time, which is usually 10 a.m., instruct your cleaning crew to wait 15 minutes. Then, at 10:15, simply go on in and start cleaning. You have a narrow window to prepare this home for the incoming guests, and their reservation is over. At one of our rentals, our cleaners have a COVID fogging machine. They use this between guests and charge us $250 per cleaning. Instead of charging an extra fee, we embed that into our cleaning fee. Now, if your property is large enough to hold events, note that I didn't say parties, I said events, then you can charge anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 for these events. Weddings, especially destination weddings, are very popular, especially with COVID being so prevalent and people being afraid to leave the country. Now, these events should never be considered free with a short-term rental. Therefore, you must disclose this in your description in detail. You see, the increased foot traffic from all the guests can tax your property, and you should have a rental agreement uploaded into your listing that specifies that there is an additional fee for such an event, and the host meaning the people renting your place, hosting the event, not you, would probably require some additional liability insurance. One that we've used and recommend is WedSure for weddings, because the host is the one who is actually hiring the caterers and supplying the alcohol, not you. Therefore, they're on the hook. Destination weddings are very popular in the Keys, and we charge a premium for them. I've also seen estates in the mountains and farm country that hold large numbers of cars and guests. This is a very lucrative way for your short-term rental to bring in extra money. But you'll want to make sure that they also rent those porta potties that are on trailers. These are ones that have usually 3 or 4 entrances, and they've got running water and electricity, much like inside a home. But you never want the guests to ever use the toilets inside your short-term rental. In South Carolina, I charge about $350 a week for pool heat. But in some places like the Keys, they don't charge for it because it is also rarely ever used. It really depends what the going rate is in your area, but ultimately, it is what you want to charge. I have no issue charging for it, but others do for some reason. The way I look at it, that pool heater was not free. Now, I charge $350 for pool heat, and that's either for a week or in the off season if they're staying for just 3 nights. The pool should be around 86 degrees prior to the guest arrival. As mentioned prior, I recommend the AquaCal pool heater and the pool sync Wi-Fi system so it is easy to turn on and off remotely. Also, don't forget to put a padlock on the unit so guests do not tinker with it. I also require that guests pay the $99 VRBO damage waiver, which covers up to $5,000 of damage. Now, the insurance does require that the guest acknowledge the damage that was caused, and it can't be malicious, so there is a limitation to that. The $27 $1,500 worth of coverage from owner reservations is also a great backup because they don't require the guest to acknowledge the damage. Now, VRBO and Airbnb will generally collect your local taxes, but you should back that up with avalara.com to ensure that you're collecting all of your taxes, because in some places, Airbnb does state, but they don't do county. The last thing you want is to be hit with a tax bill that they didn't collect and it comes out of your pocket, especially if the guest was never charged for it. Linen costs should be embedded into your cleaning or booking costs, not line itemed in, even though some areas will charge up to $500 for this. Be careful having too many fees, because then you'll have what is known as cart abandonment at checkout. That's when people see what the price really is when you sucker punch them at the end. You don't want to have someone getting hit with 20% extra in fees at checkout going over their budget. For a period of time, I took security deposits. Then I thought maybe it slowed down my bookings and reduced the amount of bookings I had, so I stopped doing it. Recently, I've gone back and I'm going to try it one more time. Now, I also get the damage waiver with all of my bookings as well. Please know the difference for each and what each covers. Also, if you're communicating properly with guests that you have a no cancellation policy and you have higher but fair rates, you should be able to weed out the bad guests. Try and see for yourself what works best for you. You may start at $350 or $500 deposit and then try not having it and then see what happens. Again, it is something that in your area and for your home, you may see it doesn't affect or it may affect your booking, but it will provide you some peace of mind. And if you rent to younger guests or see any red flags, go with your gut and take a deposit. One that is enough that it'll hurt them a little bit if they lost it. VRBO lets you do a deposit or the insurance, but not both. You see, that's where owner reservation comes in handy, because you can take a deposit with VRBO and then use the owner reservations insurance, which is a much better way.